Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about some best practices for participating in a large group ride. Let's check it out. Alright, what is going on YouTube? FXTLS Brooklyn is back in the building. And this is actually a video that my brother back here, Vong Asphalt, told me I should do while we're in this current very large group ride. This is, I probably dropped a video on this already, but this is coming live from the 2021 Medicine Wheel Ride. It's a ride to acknowledge and support the indigenous people of these hills that we are currently enjoying ourselves on. But then again, that's a separate video if you want to check out some scenes from the ride besides what you're seeing right now. But yeah, when I say large group ride, I think what categorizes that for me is a ride that is, let's say, over 20 bikes, I'd say. Or let's say over 15 bikes. I think at that point, you're getting into a different territory of group ride, right? So, thing number one is if you can, don't do it by yourself. You want to do your best to surround yourself with riders that you know, and you know their riding skill, and you know that you can rely on them. Because I've done enough really large group rides like this at this point to see things get pretty hairy. I'm talking either actual rear ends or rear ends happening, all sorts of things. The thing is when you're throwing it into a ride like this where you got like 300 bikes or more, the riding skill is totally a mixed bag. You have no idea who's, a new rider, who's done this type of riding before, who's not. You got no idea who's hungover, who's drunk. You don't know. So I do my best to kind of stack the odds in my favor on these rides, and again, try to surround myself with riders where I know their riding skill and it's of good standard. And a perfect example right now is I'm very much enjoying myself because I got my dad, the road captain, in front of me, and then I got Vong Asphalt behind me. So I'm sandwiched in between two riders that I probably trust the most out of anyone on the road. So that's number one, right? Number two is make sure you are there on time for the briefing, right? You want to make sure you hear what the road captain has to say, because there's a lot of important information that you want to know in that briefing. So obviously show up on time enough so that you're there for the briefing. Like, for example, we came into the briefing today and they told us it was going to be over a 60-mile group ride with this amount of bikes. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if you're throwing 300 or more bikes into a ride that's like over 60 miles in some parts of the most congested areas during the rally, it's going to take, probably about 2 hours or so, give or take. So you're going to be on the bike for a while. So you want to know that information. You also want to know what the expectations are. So if they didn't say anything, I'd probably ride side by side with my dad on this. We're at a low enough speed where it's like, why not? But the road captain of this ride, not my dad, was very clear that they wanted us in a staggered formation for the entire ride. So again, this is not my ride, so we want to make sure that we are respecting whatever the expectations are, right? So that's an important thing. Make sure you're on time for the briefing. Thing number three, this goes along with that. So they did say that, again, we were going to be on the bikes for a long time. So make sure that you use the bathroom at the very last minute. I always time it. I'm very proud of this. I time it perfectly so that I hit the bathroom, I hop on the bike as kickstands go up, and literally as I hop on the bike and put my gloves on, we're moving. I'm very proud of that. That's like one of my superpowers, is like how to time my pee breaks appropriately when I have to be on the bike for a long time. We call that dialing in your water on this trip. But yeah, make sure, again, there's a lot going on, especially on a ride like this. There's a lot of excitement, and then these are the things that you forget. And now you're halfway through the ride, and all you can think about is how badly you have to pee and whether you need to peel off the ride or not. So again, make sure you pee right before, because again, you have no idea how long the ride's gonna actually take, you know? So dial in your pee, dial in your water. Alright, thing number 4, again, in that same vein, there's a lot going on, it's a lot of excitement, right? There's a lot of moving parts. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled up to a group ride like this only to start it and realize, dude, I might not have enough gas to actually complete the ride. Make sure that you fill up your tank before the ride. Because again, it's just one of those things where you have so much going on, so many moving pieces, that's one of the things that sometimes you neglect. You don't want to have to exit the ride early to fill up the tank. And we've had enough near running on empties on this trip for that to be an important point. And then the 5th thing is, again, especially for this particular ride in this particular environment, you know, we're out here in the Black Hills. It's getting up into 95-degree temperatures today. The sun is absolutely blasting down, which I love. Like, that's my, I love extreme heat. I love that environment to ride in, right? But who doesn't love it is my bike, which is why you can see that red light is on right now, because that means the bike is way hotter than it wants to be, as we approach Deadwood, by the way. And so what I try to do on these types of rides is I do my best to try to keep the RPMs as low as possible, because again, there's a lot of moments in the ride where you're not going to be getting a lot of air through the bike, and especially on a day like today where it's really hot, you want to give your bike as much opportunity to stay as cool as possible. You also might want to consider, you know, what I do have on this bike is I run an external oil cooler. That helps out a lot in these situations too, right? So I'm not worried about the bike overheating because of that, but again, as you can see with the red dot, the bike is definitely not happy right now. So I'm doing my best to kind of keep the RPMs under 30 Gs, because, you know, I gotta put on like another 3,000 miles on this trip with this bike, so I'm trying to go as easy as possible. And yeah, so I mean, there's a whole bunch more that I could tell you. I mean, the 6th bonus one is, I would say, obviously, you probably don't want to enter a ride like this as a new rider. It requires a lot of slow speed maneuvers. It requires a lot of situational awareness in terms of exactly what's happening in front and the back of you. You know, this is probably not the type of ride you, again, want to do as a new rider. That being said, you know, a part of me wants to play devil's advocate and argue with myself, because when I was a new rider many moons ago, my dad threw me into a ride like this. You know, he was just like, yeah, let's do it. You know, it's going to be trial by fire. You know, you're going to learn really fast. And again, I was a new rider, man, on a Sportster, and he threw me on that ride. And actually, I learned a lot from the experience. It taught me a lot about, you know, low speed maneuvers. It taught me a lot about communication. You know, it just taught me a lot about riding as a group. And again, it was like, I was kind of just like thrown into it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's one that I leave up to you guys in the comment section to weigh in on. Like, do you think as a new rider it's beneficial to do a ride like this, you know, with like a lot of support and, you know, the experience itself? Or do you think new riders should just generally play it safe, stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to until you have, you know, full competency over your bike, and you know, when you're thrown into a ride like this? That being said, I'm going to continue to enjoy this amazing ride. Shout out to the Medicine Wheel Riders for putting on such a wonderful ride out here in the Black Hills. Definitely one of the coolest things I've done on any of these Sturgis trips. Whether you're riding solo or whether you're riding in a group with hundreds of bikes, make sure you stay safe out there and stay low. Practice a positive mental attitude, listen to the Bad Brains, and on that, FXDLS Brooklyn is out.